بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. As is our habit, inshallah, just a quick review of what we had discussed and what we've spoken about so far. Firstly, we had said that the name, what did Imam Muslim name his book? This is something that's very important. Al-Musnad, ahsant, right? Al-Musnad, and what else? What other condition did he put? What kind of a hadith are in his book? Al-Musnad, what? What do we call the book very commonly? Sahih, right? So Al-Musnad al-Sahih. Al-Musnad al-Sahih. And this is actually the most common name and probably the one that Imam Muslim actually intended. Imam Muslim's complete name. After you guys finish it, no one's going to forget what his name is. Right? Muslim Ibn Hajjaj. Ahsant. Ibn. What was his grandfather's name? His father's name was Hajjaj. His grandfather's name was? It was the same as his name. Muslim. Muslim ibn Hajjaj ibn Muslim al-Qushayri. And where was he born? Naysabur. Ahsant. Right? He was born in Naysabur and he died also in Naysabur. So Imam Muslim, he put his Sahih together, and we mentioned that there were two reasons. There are two reasons that he wrote his Sahih. What were those reasons? And they're mentioned here in the Muqaddimah. Okay. Sure. So that was the goal, but why did he write it? There were two direct reasons of why he wrote it. You guys remember? I'm sorry? He was requested, right? So he was asked by one of his compatriots, or he was asked by one of his fellow students to write it. And the second reason is that he was tired of the culture, right? So the culture he actually experienced was that people were gathering these hadith and they were not scholars of hadith, right? They themselves weren't scholars of hadith, and this was a problem for him. And this was the second reason that he actually wrote his Sahih. So last time we had left off with speaking about some of the narrators. Today inshallah we'll continue. قال المصنف رحمه الله تعالى وحدثني عبد الله بن عبد الرحمن الدارمي قال سمعت أبا نعيم وذكر المعلي ابن عرفان فقال حدثنا أبو وائل قال خرج علينا ابن مسعود بسفين فقال أبو نعيم أتراه بعث بعد الموت. So here you have a chain of narration where he says that Abu Wa'il says that Ibn Mas'ud, he came to us at the battle of Siffin. So Abu Nu'aym, he says, did you see him after, was he brought back to life after he died? Again, showing a sign of what? This is something that's impossible. And what is he basically saying about the narrator? That he is lying, right? He's lying. And this is a common theme that Imam Muslim is trying to establish with us here. قال وحدثني عمرو بن علي وحسن الحلواني كلاهما عن عفان بن مسلم قال كنا عند إسماعيل بن علي فحدث رجل عن رجل. So here we have two scholars. We have Amr ibn Ali and Hasan al-Halwani. Both of them were sitting with Affan ibn Muslim, and they said that we were with Ismail ibn Ulayya, and a man narrated on another man. فقلت إن هذا ليس بثبت. He said that this man is not reliable. قال فقال رجل اقتبته. He said that you have backbitten this person. And you backbit this person by saying that he is not reliable and he's not thabt. قال إسماعيل ما أختابه ولكنه حكم أنه ليس بثبت. He says that he didn't backbite him, he gave a ruling. He gave a ruling saying that this individual is not thabt. This individual is not reliable. Speaking about narrators, saying somebody is a kadhab, saying somebody is not well established, saying somebody is not reliable, saying somebody is okay in his hadith. How come this is not ghiba? Are they speaking about another person? Are they speaking about him in a way that maybe he doesn't like? Yeah, absolutely. So how is it justified? You have an entire science now. You have al-Manujat, right? You have the science of men. You have Jarh wa Ta'dil, which is praising and disparagement, or disparagement and praising. You have this entire science here that is built about talking about people. How is it justified? How do they justify it?
It's used for the greater benefit to.
Okay, it's used for a greater benefit. On which asl? On which basis do they do this? Well, if any of the sisters have comments or questions, they can, if they're part of the WhatsApp group, they can share their questions, inshallah. On what basis can this be justified? Yeah. Good. So if somebody asks for marriage, then what do? You have to be honest and tell them. If somebody asks me about a place, a business, I have to be honest and I have to tell them. And in hadith, I do the same thing. All of this is called what? This is not ghiba anymore. It is now what? It is advice. So all of this, it comes under a bab al-nasiha. All of this is considered advice. Why? But who are they advising? So these scholars of hadith, who are they advising? They're advising us, right? They're advising the Muslim Ummah. And this continued until when? Can I talk about people today? Can I say that, okay, and he's reliable, he's not reliable, this guy is suduq, this guy, can I say this about people? Yes? So when it comes to marriage and business, absolutely, right? When it comes to marriage and business, or even describing someone, so if I said about someone, for example, and you know that brother with the big head, right? I'm not trying to insult him, but I'm trying to differentiate him, right? I'm trying to point him out. So in those situations, there are specific cases where I'm allowed to talk about someone. But over here, giving an open floor to talk about people, can I use this now for people who are teaching the deen? So if somebody's teaching, can I say about him, okay, yeah, this guy is reliable, this guy is not reliable, this guy is honest, this guy has mistakes in his memory? Can I do that? If the sisters could please take their kids to the lecture hall. لو تكرمتم الأخوات يعني لو أخذتم أولادكم إلى the lecture hall. I don't know where their parents are. Obviously, they're not here. So the question that I have again is, now you're saying that we can speak about people who are teaching. Why? If someone asks, okay, what can I say about him?
Truth, what is fact?
Okay, I can say that which is factful. So if I'm saying he's not a good teacher, is that a fact?
No, it's a fact, yes.
Think about that. If I say someone teaches well or doesn't teach well, is it a fact or an opinion? This is an opinion. Right? This is very different. This is a very different situation. Why else doesn't it apply? Over here, they're saying that this is min bab al-nasiha. This is giving advice. So when we talk about, there's a lot of people now who teach, right? There's no shortage of Islamic scholars, there's no shortage of Islamic speakers. A lot of people will justify this. They will use this, saying that, okay, well, all of these scholars, they spoke about these people. How come we can't speak about them? Okay. So over here, you're saying it's more subjective. It's more subjective, meaning that this speaking about people now is not. It's not on. Number, what is the basis of it? This person who's teaching, what is he doing? He's just teaching. This person here, the people in the books of hadith, what are they doing? They're not teaching. Think about that. They're narrating. They're narrating what? The statements of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Which one has a greater weight? The narrations. Because if I don't like this teacher, what can I do? I can go to another teacher. Right? If I don't like this shift, I can go to another shift. I have this choice. I've been given this choice. Right? I've been given this choice now on what and where I want to and who I can sit with. When it comes to narrating is more of an amana. Narrating is more of a trust. Because now we are worried about what the Prophet ﷺ said and what he didn't say. And if we understand that there is a difference between what he ﷺ said and what he didn't say, then this is something that it becomes an obligation to speak about. is it an obligation for me to speak about teachers? Or is it an obligation for me to speak about mashayikh? No, this is not an obligation because we have a choice in them. Narrators, it's a very fixed group. It's a very fixed crowd. I don't understand. I'm sorry? They have their own class going on? I mean, if they have their own class going on, they can come, inshallah, we can start, we can let them know. Or they let us know at least. Because if they're having a class and I don't know, this is a bigger problem, right? And obviously it's more important. And they don't care. I'm just... MashaAllah. I'm sorry? Yeah, I am talking to the sisters, by the way. I'm not talking to myself. Okay. Jazakallah khair. So over here, when we talk about what is the priority here, obviously, yes, I'm speaking about narrators, and these individuals are bringing to us the narrations of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the amana there is great. As for, so I have no choice except to take narrations from them. Right? Can I go to other group of people and take narrations? No, where they don't exist. The number of people who are narrating are very few. And I have no choice except to take from them. The choice with teachers, I have what? I have a choice. Because this teacher, is it possible he has all knowledge? No, it's not. And the teachers are many. Right? It's almost unlimited, the number of people who are teaching. So this is why these are not parallel, and this is why they don't apply. And this is why this is not considered a ghiba, but speaking about teachers is ghiba. And not just that. I remember I was asked a question one time, Tayyib Sheikh, we have a lot of people who are teaching. Right? There are a lot of people who are teaching, what if this person is guiding and what if this person is misguiding? Tayyib, who decides that? Right, this is where the problem comes in, and I'm not here to open up the door, say, okay, no, listen to whoever you want. No, that's not the case either. But in general, who should I trust? Me, as a Muslim, who should I trust? The ones who the communities trust. Right? If you have the community appoint a person, or the community trusts a person, then that is reason enough for me to what? To trust that person. Or if that person, he chooses other people. They say, okay, hey, listen, go talk to him. So, for example, walillahi alhamd, we have two teachers here sitting with us in the musalla. And I tell people to go and attend their classes. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's good, right? Because the people trust me, they also trust my decisions. So when I say, hey, you should listen to Uthman or you should listen to Sabri, then these are reasons enough for people now to go and sit with them. Does it mean that they should sit with anybody who prays with us? No. Or anybody who attends the masjid? No. It doesn't open up the door that much. So these limitations, they still exist. These limitations are still there. But it's very important to have this system in place. Especially with who? There are two groups of people in the community who are especially taken advantage of. Who are they? Huh? Well, the kids don't take mashayikh per se, right? The kids, they usually go and do their thing. So people who convert to Islam, new Muslims, and you will find that there are people who are always, who do they go after? They go after these new Muslims. Why do they go after the new Muslims? Because they're easy, right? They're easy targets. And these new Muslims, I always give them the same advice that we're sitting and speaking now. If you're going to ask someone, if you're going to learn with someone, then go to someone who what? Who the community trusts. Don't go to someone just because he said he's teaching a class. And if he's teaching a class and the community trusts him, then the community would have brought him, they would have hired him. And does it have to be this community? No, right? It could be any of the Muslim communities. It could be any of the Muslim communities. And another thing I can look for, just imagine if I had a person speaking, alhamdulillah, if I had a person who was speaking, right, he was on the minbar or he's giving classes, and all he does is he says, don't listen to this person, and don't listen to that person, and this person is this, and this person is that. Who does he want you to listen to? Himself, right? Because there's nobody left. Right? If he just keeps cutting up the Muslims, the only person that is going to remain is him. A person who is on the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam bring people together, or did he sit and separate them? Right? He brought people together. He brought the Muslims together. This is the sign of a manhaj nabawi. This is a sign of the prophetic way, is when you have someone who brings people together. And subhanAllah, I remember my cousin, she asked me one time, she's like, okay, well, what about the people who say everything is halal? The people who say everything is halal, do the people unite under them? No, right? What do they say? They say, I don't listen to that guy because what? I don't trust him because he says what? Everything's halal. So even in that situation, the people have a natural inclination, and they understand, like, no, this guy I don't want to listen to, he makes everything halal. So the communities, you tend not to unite under such people. But do you have people who are more conservative and reserved? Yes, absolutely. Do you have people who are more liberal and a little bit more forward? Yes, absolutely. But does that take away from the person? No, not at all. Everybody has a different tabi'ah. Everybody has a different nature. Everybody has a different inclination. But again, if this person is trusted by the community, and why is that important? Because the Prophet ﷺ, he said this about the ummah as a whole, but in general, لا يجتمع أمتي على ضلال, that my ummah will never come together on misguidance. So whether that be the entire ummah or whether it be a portion of the ummah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, essentially He has made us His shuhada. He has made us His witnesses on this earth. Right? He's made us His witnesses on this earth. And these are things that are very important. Right? These elements help us determine on who to take one and who we don't take from. And even these scholars, they're not just speaking from their hawa. Right? This person is like this and this person is like that. These individuals, how did they come to be known and trusted? Because of their knowledge, because they're studying, and because of them bringing forward their dalil and the reasons of why they made the ahkam and why they made the rulings on these individuals that we did. That is why this is considered a science, and speaking about people is considered ghiba. Speaking about narrators is very different than speaking about people. So this science, ilm al-rijal, the science that concerns with speaking about men, it is a science that is specific for who? The scholars of hadith. And what group of people are they speaking about? I'm sorry? They're speaking about narrators. Are we still actively narrating today? No, it's done. Narration is done. When did it finish? It finished when the books were written. Once these books were written, narration was done. Why? Because now you have the book. There's no need anymore. Right? There's no need to keep narrating when the ahadith have been written. Yes? Yeah.
They also have some taween, every
Sure.
Is it the same application?
No, so what you're under, see, there's a difference in, there are two things that are happening. When it comes to the Quran and the Sunnah, can we trust that it has reached us in the same way? Right? Do you think any of the meanings have changed since they've come now that we have in front of us? No, right? The meanings are the same. Like, how I deal with those meanings, right, are sometimes when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something, or sometimes when the Prophet ﷺ says something, is there more than one way to understand it? Yes, absolutely. So that's something that's different. That can do with tafsir, that can do with fiqh, that can do with sometimes like with linguistically, that sometimes it carries a different meaning. I'm sorry? I don't know. I'm about to just close the upstairs and ask all the sisters to come down. I'm sorry? No, I don't, like, it's, there's a class that's going on, and you have the entirety of the masjid. I don't even know if their parents are here. Like, I'm wondering, like, I'm just curious. I'm okay with kids playing, right? You know, I have children of my own, but there's a time and a place, right? There's a time and a place. No, that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering where the parents are. Because this is, I find this completely disrespectful. It's like, I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us. Like, and this is the job of us as parents, right? Like, I think it's important we bring our children to the masjid. And I think that it's important that they play. And I think it's important that they get involved. But when we as parents, when we send them to school, there are certain rules that they learn, right? So if the teacher is speaking and the students start speaking, what's going to happen? Right, they'll be sent. Either going to call the parents, or there's going to be some kind of disciplinary action. So when you have a public space like this, right, that space needs to be respected. Even when we come into this space, like there are some people who are on the phone, there are some people who are reading Quran, there are some people who are praying their sunnah, and that's fine, right? There's nothing wrong with any of those things. But when the Salat al-Faridah is being made, right, when the obligatory prayer is being made, what should I teach my child? To be quiet. Right? Listen, this time you be quiet. If somebody's speaking, should be quiet. Like if I come to the masjid and I bring my son or I bring my small daughter with me, and like I said, I encourage everyone to do this, and this is how I raise my children. And I find my son or my daughter is crying, the Imam says Allahu Akbar, and my child starts screaming. What should I do?
Take the child, go home.
Go home. It's okay. It's not a problem. Why? Because if my child continues to pray, how is my prayer going to be? Am I going to be focused in my prayer? No. Are other people going to be focused in their prayer? And is my child going to have a good experience? Right? Is he going to remember, like, man, as he took me to this great place and he just ignored me for 7 minutes while the prayer was going on?
Sister, if you're not listening to the lecture, you can go to the other side and talk, please. They complain again. They say they're hitting the woman voice. Yes, please.
So, there.
It's not me that he complains.
It's a lot of ladies, they just look into the side.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the space, it's supposed to be for everyone, but when we have a space for everyone, that also means we have to respect, right? We respect each other by speaking loudly or by, like, my son or my daughter is crying, and like I said, I wonder where the parents are. Or they don't care, right? And they're just letting them do whatever they want. It's an issue, right? It definitely is an issue. So like it's a space that we should all learn to respect one another, and that's what is one of the purposes of coming to Salat al-Jama'ah.
Sure, but you have to admit, the mosque should provide a space for kids to play.
Sure.
If you want them to come and be experiencing with Allah, what about a daycare maybe?
Sure, all of those things, they cost money, right? So the thing is, I understand what you're saying, and the masjid is big enough where we have multiple rooms and multiple spaces. It's not necessary that they stay in the space where a class is going on. Had it been a smaller space, I would definitely agree with you. And saying that, there are a lot of services that I think we take for granted, or we think that are good, right? So the masjid should always be clean. Yes, would you agree? The masjid should always smell nice. Yes. If I'm coming to the masjid, I should have a place where I go and make wudu. Yes. Okay, and if I have a wudu place, that also means I need what? A place to use the bathroom. The more of these services that the masjid continues to offer, what happens? All of these things have cost, and I'm okay with that. Like, the question is that the people who are coming now and they bring their children, will they really put their kids and pay for a program? Most people won't. I'm just being very honest. And I'm okay with that too, right? You shouldn't have to put your kid in that space. But saying that when you have a space that is as large as this, like the entire courtyard is empty right now. Right? Like right in front of us, the entire courtyard is empty. The lecture hall, completely empty. And they're good sized spaces, right? They're probably just as big as the women's musalla is. If you have alternative spaces to utilize so that you can still play, because like I said, I'm not discouraging anyone to play. The question is this the appropriate time to do it?
But also there's a consideration, Sheikh, if you don't mind me. I hope I didn't cut you off.
No, totally.
A lot of these children are probably below the right age where their parents can leave them in another room, even back there.
So,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and I don't want anyone leaving their children. Like, so if I come to the masjid with my child, who's responsible for my child?
I am responsible.
I am responsible.
And if
Right.
he is a troublemaker,
Yeah.
I take him home. I agree with
Yeah,
you 100%.
okay. No, alhamdulillah.
Because
Yeah.
by niyyah, the
Mhm.
person who came here, the adult,
Yeah.
taking their child to avoid the chaos and
Yeah.
the noise,
Mhm.
their salah is accepted as if they made it here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if they make it at
No,
home.
I agree.
Allah knows, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's so many things that prevent us from the masjid, right? So whether it be the snow or whether it be the rain. So if the weather's bad and I pray at home, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He still writes for me what?
Right.
Right? I still get the full reward for coming to the masjid. If you're telling me that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I made wudu, I got ready, I got my son ready, and I come to the masjid and he just starts screaming. Is Allah petty? He's going to be like, oh, nope, you missed it.
Yeah, exactly.
This is not. It's like, oh, no, you were supposed to pray. No, this is, yeah. No, I'm saying, and when they're young, what should I do? I should take more consideration. It's like, okay, I tried this time, it didn't work. Okay, I try again, it didn't work. Okay, yeah, it might not work every time, but eventually what happens? It'll work. Eventually it'll work. And my responsibility as a father, it's not to pray in the front row. My responsibility is to pray to pray with my child, right? Even the Sahaba, they said, where did they keep their children? They said that we used to keep our children next to us. I had a question one time, what about Hassan and Hussein? They used to climb on the Prophet ﷺ. What was the Prophet's relationship to Hassan and Hussein? He was their grandfather. It's okay for a child to bother his father or grandfather, yes? Is it okay for him to bother the Jama'ah? Right? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So because the responsibility ultimately falls on me as a parent. And min husn tarbiyah, from good tarbiyah is for me to do what? Is to teach my child. Right? I want to teach my child because I want my child to enjoy this space. I want myself to enjoy. I want other people, when they see my son or daughter, I want them to be what? I want them to be happy too. Like, mashallah, he's mu'addab. Like, look, this brother, he brings, and there are people who we know. They're this big. Right, this big, and they come with salat time. What happens? They stand, and as soon as the imam says "Assalamu alaikum," what do? They start going crazy, right? They start running around, and that I'm okay with.
That's okay.
Right, it's okay. Why? Because the salah is over. Yes.
We should give credit tonight because instead of running Halloween.
Instead of Halloween, they came here. or maybe they're done trick or treating. They ate all the candy. نعم. قال المصنف رحمه الله تعالى وحدثنا أبو جعفر الدارمي قال حدثنا بشر بن عمر قال سألت مالك بن أنس عن محمد بن عبد الرحمن الذي يروي عن سعيد بن المسيب فقال ليس بثقة وسألته عن صالح مولى التوأمة فقال ليس بثقة وسألته أبي الحويرث فقال ليس بثقة وسألته عن شعبة الذي روى عنه ابن أبي ذئب فقال ليس بثقة وسألته عن حرام بن عثمان فقال ليس بثقة وسألت مالكا عن هؤلاء الخمسة فقال ليسوا بثقة في حديثهم. So over here, Malik ibn Anas, rahimahullah ta'ala, he was asked about 5 different narrators. And about all of them, he said, لَيْسُوا بِثِقَةٍ, that these individuals are not reliable. وَسَأَلْتُهُ عَنْ رَجُلٍ آخَرٍ نَسِيتَ اسْمُهُ. He said, then I asked him about someone else and I forgot who it was that I asked about. فَقَالْ هَلْ رَأَيْتُهُ فِي كُتُبِي. Have you seen him in any of my books? Have you seen him in any of my books? قُلْتُ لَا. He said, no. قَالَ لَوْ كَانَ ثِقَةً لَرَأَيْتُهُ فِي كُتُبِي. He said, if he was reliable, you would have seen him. You would have seen him in my books. And this brings up a very important point. Is every reliable narrator in Imam Malik's Muwatta? No, right? There are narrators outside of the Muwatta who were also considered reliable. But he's saying that the narrators, at least the ones in my book, are reliable. وحدثني فضل بن سهل قال حدثني يحيى بن معين قال حدثنا حجاج قال حدثنا ابن أبي ذئب عن شرحبيل بن سعد وكان متهما. So over here you have again another narrator, شرحبيل بن سعد, and he was accused of lying. قال وحدثني محمد بن عبد الله بن حزاد قال سمعت أبا إسحاق الطالقاني يقول سمعت ابن المبارك يقول لو خيرت بين أدخل الجنة وبين ألقى عبد الله بن محرر لأخترت أن ألقاه ثم أدخل الجنة. So over here, Abdullah ibn Mubarak, a great hadith scholar, he said, had I been given the choice between entering paradise and meeting Abdullah ibn Muharrir, I would have wanted to meet Abdullah first and then enter paradise. فَلَمَّا رَأَيْتُهُ كَانَتْ بَعْرَةً أَحَبَّ إِلَيْهِ مِنْهُ. And he said, when I got the opportunity to meet him, I felt a writing animal was better than me meeting him. So over here, it's really interesting going through some of these statements of the scholars of Jarh wa Ta'deel. Some of them were really funny. Like they had a personality that they would be extremely like humorous. They'd be extremely humorous, and some of them were really serious. Some of them would be serious, and the most they would say would be like thiqa, laysa bi thiqa, laysa bi thabt. And then you have statements like this where they're saying, I would rather be a writing animal than have met this guy. Also, it also tells us something about Abdullah ibn Mubarak on how important hadith was to him. Right? How important hadith was to him. He would delay entering paradise. He's saying that I'm willing to delay entering paradise. Why? Because there was a narrator he had a question mark on. Why? Because his love of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to make sure that his hadith were preserved. قال وحدثني الفضل بن سهل قال حدثنا وليد بن صالح قال عبيد الله بن عمرو قال زيد يعني ابن أبي أنيسة لا تأخذوا عن أخيه. So over here you have a narrator, Zayd ibn Abi Unaysa. He was asked about his brother and he said, don't take his hadith. Don't take his hadith. This is how honest they were. Right? It didn't matter what the relationship was, but they would not take the hadith. And his brother's name is Yahya. He's going to come in the following narration. قال حدثني أحمد بن إبراهيم الدورقي قال حدثني عبد السلام الواصبي قال حدثني عبد الله بن جعفر الرقي عن عبيد الله بن عمرو قال كان يحيى بن أبي أنيسة كذاب. So the same person, Yahya ibn Abi Unaysa, who was Zayd's brother, he said that he was a liar. قال حدثني أحمد بن إبراهيم قال حدثني سليمان بن حرب عن حماد بن زيد قال ذكر فرقد عند أيوب. So this individual named Farqad, he was mentioned to this great scholar Ayyub al-Sakhtiyani, and he said, إن فرقد ليس صاحب حديث. He says that this individual Farqad, he is not from the people of hadith, meaning that his narrations, they're not to be accepted because he's not considered from the people of hadith. قال وحدثني عبد الرحمن بن بشر العبدي قال سمعت يحيى بن سعيد القطان ذكر عنده محمد بن الله بن عبيد بن عمير الليثي. So over here Yahya ibn Sa'id ibn Qattan, a very famous hadith scholar, he was asked about this individual Muhammad ibn Allah. فضعفه جدا. He says that he's extremely weak. This narrator, this Muhammad ibn Abdullah, he's extremely weak. فقيل ليحيى. So it was said to Yahya, I'm sorry? No. فقيل ليحيى أضعف من يعقوب بن عطاء. He says that is he weaker than Yaqub ibn Ata? قال نعم. He said yes, he is. ثم قال ما كنت أرى أن أحدا يروي عن محمد بن عبد الله بن عبيد بن عمير. He says I didn't see anyone narrating on Muhammad ibn Abdullah. That's how weak he was. قال حدثني بشر بن حكم قال سمعت يحيى بن سعيد القطان ضعف حكيم بن جبير وعبد الله أعلى. So over here you have Yahya ibn Sa'id ibn Qattan. He made two narrators weak. There are two narrators that he declared weak, Hakim ibn Jubair and Abdul A'la. And Yahya, وضعف Yahya, Musa ibn Dinar. That there was another narrator, Musa ibn Dinar. He said he was also weak. قال حديثه ريح. حديثه ريح. That his hadith are like the wind. Meaning what? It could mean that it shifts, right, and that it changes, because so this is another thing you have with a number of the hadith scholars. Sometimes they'll use statements like this, right? Sometimes they'll use statements like this that aren't 100% clear. So, for example, when the Prophet ﷺ, when he was asked about his jood and his karam during Ramadan, it was described as what? كأنها ريح مرسلة, right? It was almost like a sent wind. So in that context, it's used in a positive way. In that context, it's used in a positive way. But in this one here, he's talking about hadith rih, because wind, it could be a number of things. It's constantly changing direction, which is one meaning. Sometimes it can be destructive. Another meaning can be, can I buy wind? Does it have any value? No, right? This is another one that his hadith don't have any value. So there are a number of meanings that could apply here. But we know that he is weak. وضعف موسى ابن دهقان وعيسى ابن أبي عيسى المدني. So all of these narrators, they said that they were weak. قال وسمعت الحسن بن عيسى يقول قال لي ابن المبارك. So over here now we have Hasan ibn Isa. He says it was said to Ibn Mubarak إذا قدمت على جرير فاكتب علمه كله إلا حديث ثلاثة. He says over here, when you go and you sit with Jarir, take all of his hadith except the hadith that he narrates from three. لا تكتب حديث عبيدة ابن معتب والسري ابن إسماعيل ومحمد ibn Salim, and he mentions these three narrators from them. So this also tells us that you have a number of narrators and you have a number of scholars that they would narrate from a number of different people. They would narrate from a number of different people. So sometimes they would take narrations from certain narrators who were weak. What are some reasons that they would do that? What can we think of logically? Why would I take, so I have a good chunk of my mashayikh are thiqa and they're reliable and I narrate from them, but I have a few who are weak.
Consistency.
I'm sorry?
Consistency.
Consistency. Okay, just to show that they're narrating and to make sure they narrate from them. Yes. They want to confuse. I don't think so. Yeah.
To verify these with
So sometimes they would narrate on someone just to because what did they do with this narrator? They had what? They had a question mark. So they said, okay, let me take his narrations because with his narrations, what can I do? I can cross-reference and I can compare to other narrations. Or sometimes these people will have a hadith that what? Not necessarily stronger, but hadith that I haven't seen with others. So I can look at these strange hadith that they have, or these unique hadith that they have, and I was like, okay, let me collect them, because again, on these narrators, I might have a question mark. Or even if they're weak, sometimes I can have this weak chain, but if I can find a stronger chain someone else, what can I do? I can actually bring up the level of that particular narration. So this is one of the reasons, or these are some of the reasons that they would narrate them. قال Muslim, and over here now Imam Muslim, he concludes this section saying وَشْبَهُ مَا ذَكَرْنَا مِنْ كَلَامِ أَهْلِ الْعِلْمِ فِي مُتَّهِمِينَ وَرَوَاتِ الْحَدِيثِ وَأَخْبَارِهِمْ عَنْ مَعَايِبٍ كَثِيرٍ. So he says that, and there are a number of other examples similar to this. Talking about these weak narrators and talking about these weak narrations and how some of these individuals who have been accused of lying in both their hadith and their other narrations and the shortcomings that these narrators have. He said there are plenty of examples of this. There are a number of examples of this. يطول الكتاب بذكره, and he said, but if I mention them, my book is going to get what? It's going to get unnecessarily long. على استقصائه. And he says the idea is here, like the examples that I mentioned are enough for me to show and bring what it is that I intend forward. وفيما ذكرنا كفاية, and what I've mentioned is enough. لمن تفهم وعقل مذهب القوم فيما قالوا من ذلك بين. So over here, and what I have mentioned enough is enough for you to understand what the point that I'm trying to make, and how there are a few things here. Number one, that some of the narrators, not every narrator is what? Is reliable. This is something that is very simple, something that is straightforward, something that we have experienced, right? Not every person is reliable, even if it has to do with the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Also, those weak narrators have been what? They've been singled out. We know who they are, right? This is not this unknown group of people that exists. No. Not only are some people weak, but we know who those weak people are, and their narrations have been recorded. So we know who said it, we know what they said, and we know how to differentiate and single those particular reports out. And he says that these examples are enough, and there are plenty concerning that. Also, it's permissible to speak about narrators. This is another benefit that here Imam Muslim brings in this section. And he goes on to say, وَإِنَّمَا أَلْزَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ الْكَشْفَ الْمَعَيِبَ رَوَاتِ الْحَدِيثِ. And then here, these same scholars of hadith, what did they busy themselves with? They busied themselves with taking out the shortcomings and showing the weakness in some of these narrators and some of these narrations. وَأَفْتَوْا بِذَلِكَ, and they gave fatwa concerning, and they basically made a hukum, they made a ruling on these particular individuals. حِينَ سُئِلُوا, whenever they were asked, لِمَا فِيهِ مِنْ عَظِيمِ الْخَطَرِ. Why? Because this is something that is a big deal. Right? This is a huge responsibility. Bringing forward and carrying the statements, actions, approvals of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, his descriptions, talking about his characteristics. They took this as a huge responsibility. إذا الأخبار في أمر الدين إنما تأتي بتحليل أو تحريم أو أمر أو نهي أو ترغيب أو ترهيب. So over here he mentioned something, and I want to point some of this section out. He says that these especially those ahadith that have to do with halal and haram. Meaning that hadith that don't have to do with halal and haram, they don't have the same what? They don't have the same stringency. They don't look and press as hard in those hadith. But he mentioned something here. He says, إِذَا الْأَخْبَارَ فِي أَمْرِ الدِّينِ, and he defines deen, that any issues related to the religion and affairs of the religion to him are halal and haram. Very simple. He says, إِنَّمَا تَأْتِي بِتَحْلِيل أو تحريم. It either comes with making something halal or making something haram. أو أمر أو نهي, something that is commanded and something that is prohibited. أو ترغيب أو ترهيب. And over here, I want to put a question mark and make a little bit of a discussion on this. How targhib and tarhib, this is something that other scholars mention that this is something that they take a lighter position on. Right? Because these are meant to be encouragements and warnings. Does he mean that here? Does he mean here that you have to, the same stringency should be applied to those two? No. السياق يدل على ذلك. السياق يدل على العكس. That over here, targhib, tarhib, over here he means reward and punishment.
It means what?
Reward and punishment. So, reward, because if he says here, he says this in two ways, right? Because he's saying the same thing. He's saying the same thing. He's saying either it's halal or haram. How do I know something is halal? If the Prophet ﷺ ordered for it to be okay. How do I know something is haram? If the Prophet ﷺ prohibited it. Now, ماذا يترتب عليه? Now, what is that going to be? If I do something haram, it is what? It is a punishment. And if I do something halal, it is rewarded. And this is why, and هذا الذي يدل عليه السياق. الله أعلم. That this is what Imam Muslim intends, because of the two previous categories that he had mentioned, and it's all supposed to mean the same thing. فإذا كان الراوي لها ليس بمعدن للصدق يعني ليس بمحل الصدق. So if you have a narrator that is not considered to be truthful والأمانة, truthful and trustworthy, ثم أقدم على الرواية عنه من قد عرفه لم يبين ما فيه لغيره. And over here, now you have a narrator and you're not sure. Now you have a narrator here and you're not sure. ممن جهل معرفته, and it's difficult to know who this narrator is. كان آثما بفعله ذلك, and it is not permissible to narrate from him. So we talked about weak narrators. Over here, now he's including what type of narrators?
Unknown.
The ones that are unknown. So he's saying even if you have an unknown narrator, it is not permissible to what? To use those ahadith. Ghashan li'awam al-muslimin, he says that this is actually ghish, this is actually cheating the Muslims. When you use a hadith that is with an unknown narrator, you're actually cheating the Muslims. إِذْ لَا يُؤْمِنَ عَلَى بَعْضَ مَنْ سَمِعَ تِلْكَ الْأَخْبَارَ أَنْ يَسْتَعْمِلَهَا. That because you don't know who heard this narration. Right? You don't know who heard this narration. Or يَسْتَعْمِلْ بَعْضِهَا, even if you use a part of it. So you don't know if the entirety of it is wrong, or you don't know if part of it is wrong because you just don't know who the narrator is. وَلَعَلَّهَا أَوْ أَكْثَرَهَا أَكَاذِيبْ لَا أَصْلَ لَهَا. And it is most likely that these narrations that come from unknown narrators, most of them are lies. مع أن الأخبار الصحاح من رواية الثقات وأهل القناعة أكثر من أن يضطر إلى نقل من ليس بثقة. So he says, but it's important to know that the sahih narrations, the sound narrations that have been narrated by reliable narrators are so many. Why do you even need to look to those narrations? There's no need. There's no need, just because of the sheer number and amount and quality of narrations that we have in front of us today. You don't need to look to those narrations. There's no need for it. There's no call for it. وَلَا مَقْنَعْ. And you shouldn't even feel convinced to go and do that because of the number of sound narrations we have. ولا أحسب كثيرا ممن يعرج من الناس على ما وصفنا من هذه الأحاديث الضعاف والأسانيد المجهولة ويعتد بروايتها بعد معرفتها بما فيها. So he said, I don't think it's possible that most people, after hearing or listening to or reading what I have written here, that they would even go and they would return to or they would rely on those particular hadith. He says, it doesn't make sense. من التوهم والضعاف إلا أن الذي يحمله على روايتها والاعتداد بها إرادة التكثر بذلك عند العوام. So the only people who actually would narrate these type of hadith are those who want to show that they have a lot of narrations. So he's saying most people, they'll be like, okay, that makes sense. I'm not going to narrate these hadith. right? Why? Because they're probably lies and they're probably weak. He says, but there is a group of people who still will narrate. And those group of people, the only reason they're going to narrate is because they want to show that they have many ahadith. وَلِأَنْ يُقَالْ, and so that it's said about them, مَا أَكْثَرْ مَا جَمَعَ فُلَانٍ مِنَ الْحَدِيثِ وَأَلَّفَ مِنَ الْعَدَدِ. And he says that over here that the people will say, oh look how many hadith that this person has gathered, and look at all of the hadith that he has put together and he has written about. And again, it's just to show the people, riya'an, to show off that he has this knowledge, when in reality he does not. And this is the end of the section, inshallah. We'll stop here. Wallahu a'lam, sallallahu ala khayri khalqin, nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Inshallah, next week we will talk about باب ما تصح به رواية الرواة بعضهم من بعض, يعني what is authentic to narrate from one narrator to another, and وتنبيه على غلط في ذلك. And even when you have sound narrators, they can still what? They can still make mistakes. Any questions? Yes.
These are very technical and expertise kind of discussion.
Yeah.
At the scholars level.
Mm-hmm.
For general people,
Mm-hmm.
how they should just respect this and know what is reliable, what is not,
Mm-hmm.
respect, and
Sure.
how can they just go so much behind the chain and to find out?
Okay, so this is a valid question. Over here, I as a layperson, what do? I go on those books that have been relied on. Right? So if right now, if I asked you, I said, after Kitabullah, after the Quran, what are the two most authentic books? Or what is the most authentic book after the Quran? Sahih Bukhari. Right? Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. Then where did that information come from? The Ummah agreed on it. Right? The Ummah agreed on it. Now, tayyib, on top of that, where do I get fiqh from? A lot of people have a lot of different opinions, yes? Tayyib, but the Ummah, who did they agree upon to go and where we take our fiqh? The form of that. So, if the question comes, how do I determine, how do I differentiate? Alhamdulillah, the Ummah has done most of the work. Like what we have now, everything is packaged, right? Everything is ready in front of us. So all this technical work, the people who need to do it, you know who needs to do it? Who? The scholars, right? The scholars, they have to do it. Why? Because they have the tools and they want to be more content. They want to have more confirmation and they're going to seek more yaqeen. Right? And yaqeen is directly tied to what? To iman and to faith. Ahsant. So for a scholar, and when he goes back and he looks at these narrators and he studies these things, and the moment he comes to the conclusion and he can put a star and he authenticates, what happens to his heart? Right? It increases and he gets happy. Like, even though it's written, it's done, but for him to go and do that research, it brings him more yaqeen. It brings him more contentment, it gives him more commitment to the religion, and it makes him more inspired. For some people, they just need the end result. Let me give like an easier example. Like, you know how to drive a car, yes? Do you know how the car works? You know what I'm saying? So, but the person who knows how the car works, when he's driving, he can do what? He can appreciate the car, right? If he understands what's going on. But as a driver, we both have the same experience, right? I'm driving a car, you're driving a car. Both of us, can we enjoy the drive? Yes. Who will enjoy the drive more?
The one who knows more.
The one who knows more. It's the same thing. Right? Both of us, all of us can enjoy Islam. There's no doubt. Whether you're a scholar or whether you're a worshipper, everybody enjoys Islam. But who's going to find more enjoyment? Who's going to find more taste? The one who knows. Right? What we call dhawq. Right? What we call that taste or that flavor that we enjoy. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? Yes, tafadhali.
Not a question, but I was always wondering, they did not heard that hadith that says the Prophet, whoever starts making hadith for me, let him prepare the hellfire.
Yep, subhanAllah. Yeah, I agree. So the brother is saying, okay, what about the hadith? Man kadaba alayhi muta'ammadan falyatabawwa maq'adahu min an-nar, that whoever lies upon me intentionally, let him take his seat in the hellfire. So some people, they'll change the meaning, and they said, I'm not akdhib alayhi and akdhib lahu. Look, I'm not lying on him, I'm lying for him, because I want people to do more good deeds. And so I just, being very honest, shuhra, or trying to be famous, it's a huge fitna. You know, it's a huge fitna. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and our children. But for some people, for the shuhra, just for that, they're willing to lie. So that's one of the reasons.
Yeah, for that reason.
Yeah. But,
So, in the beginning class, we said that Muslim doesn't have the abwab, right?
yeah.
Even though during his time, we see that scholars are now starting to put chapters and stuff in there.
Even before him, look at the Musannafat. So you have Musannaf Abdul Razak, Musannaf Ibn Abi Shayba, all of them have the tabwibat.
What is his reason to omit them?
So I think that requires a study.
Okay.
I honestly think that this requires a study, because when he puts all of the hadith under one kitab, basically it allows him to do a few things. It allows him to organize them in a certain way. It allows him either to bring the strongest to the weakest, or the other thing, because one of the problems with the tabweeb, one of the problems with the chapter headings here, is that sometimes, because Imam Muslim in faqih, bahr, there's no doubt. But when you go to his hadith, it's not strong. Even his explanation of this muqaddimah, when he starts talking about some of these things, وَقَالَ عَوَامْ, he takes from Ibn Salah, right? All he does from Ibn Salah, and he copies a lot of what he says. But when you get into the fiqh, like how to understand the hadith, if you get into the lugha of it, right, like it's beautiful. But like his hadithi stuff. So what do I mean by that? Sometimes he'll put a bab and he'll cut what Imam Muslim's intention was. So Imam Muslim, he'll end with a bab, and then Imam Nawawi, he'll write the bab, and then there'll be another hadith, but this hadith is connected to the previous discussion. So, wallahu alam, like I said, I think there's an order there, there's a tartib there that he's looking to go for, and that he's looking to present. I think with some of the hadith he mentions, he means to bring it to show that there's a mistake in the hadith, but it's something, because the chain is sahih, he wants to show like, no, there's actually a problem here, there's an issue here. There's actually 280 hadith or so that only Imam Muslim narrates out of all of the books of hadith. What did he intend by that? One of those hadiths is very famous. I don't know if you guys know it. You know the hadith of Dajjal? Imam Muslim is the only one that narrates it. Out of the 6 books. Right, where he finds it's the only hadith where you have the Prophet ﷺ narrating from a companion. Yeah, Tamim al-Dari. A hadith Tamim al-Dari. So why did he bring it? Valid question. You know what I mean? So what happens is like Qadi Iyad, Imam Nawawi mostly, sometimes they'll break up the section because they're looking at it from what perspective? Imam Nawawi, he himself is what? He was a faqih. So he's going to look at the meta, he's going to look at the text, and he's going to break the hadith according to the fiqh. Yeah, and it's going to be Shafi'i fiqh, which is, I don't think it's vastly different from Hanbali fiqh, you know what I mean? We're Shafi'i 2.0, man. So I think that definitely does have an effect. That definitely does have an effect here. Even the tabweeb here in the muqaddimah. In some places, I'm like, I don't think it works. In some places, I don't think it works. In some places, it's very clear and it's munasib, what it is that he's doing. But like I said, if you go to his Sharh and Minhaj, some of the things he's very clear. He all he does is he just says naqal, and he says even this issue when we get to riwayat anana, and when we talk about is liqa a condition or not a condition, those things he just mentions what Ibn Salah says. Even his book of hadith, taqrib, is taqrib of what? Of Ibn Salah, right? It's a taqrib of Ibn Salah. Yeah.
So, a follow-up. So, do we know the chapter headings of Imam Nawawi and the chapter headings of Qadi Iyad?
Yeah. No, those are the ones that we have in the printed ones. So the ones that are printed today, these are from them. From mostly from Nawawi and some from Qadi. Even from Qadi Iyad, Nawawi, he took some of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he took some of them and he included. The thing with Qadi Iyad, why don't we have all the chapter headings? Because he did his in a Mukhtasar, a Muslim. He did Ikhtisar Muslim and he put the chapter headings. But Imam Nawawi, he did all of Muslim. He did the whole thing. The thing that we do have for sure are the names of the kutub. And there is a benefit in that. There is a benefit in that. So for example, Imam Muslim, he brings the hadith, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with it, where the Prophet ﷺ, he said, لا تضرب الوجه فإن الله خلق آدم على صورته. He said, don't strike the face because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Adam, right, in his image, right? Meaning, did he make Adam in Allah's image, or is basically does the hadith mean that Allah created Adam in his image, or does it mean that don't hit the face because Allah's the one that created it like that? Does that make sense? Right? These are the two understandings that can come from it. Where does Imam Muslim put this hadith? Do you guys know? He puts it in Kitab al-Itq. He puts it in the book of manumission, talking about slaves. Why? What do you think he was trying to say? Don't hate your slaves. Why didn't he put it in Kitab al-Jihad? Because when it comes to fighting, because even in jihad, when you have two people who are fighting, it's consensual, right? They're agreeing to fight each other. When it comes to a slave or a child, can they consent? No, right? There's no idea of consent there. So did he put in Kitab al-Itq? In Wallahu A'lam, what he means by it, but I believe what he means is that إذا أدبت, right? If you were going to discipline your slave, don't hit on the face. So, boxing is makruh. I'll see you guys later, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك واشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك. جزاكم الله خير. هلا الله يهنيك.
Can I ask you a question unrelated?
تفضل. الله يبارك فيك.
Neighbor, neighbor.
Yeah.
Not here in Lebanon.
احكي عربي على فكره.
ما شاء الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين. طب احسن. كيف اوفق؟
شيخ السلام عليكم.
اهلا.
صح المولانا. خير.
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. حياك الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين. كيف اوفق بين جار المؤسف انه يعطي دروس دين شيخ وفتنة المال فتن. كنا احنا بعض الله السبب في سكنه في المبنى اللي احنا فيه.
طيب.
وساعدناه وسبونسر كيف بتعمل سبونسر شيب.
اوكي. جزاك الله خير.
help him get الهاوس اللي هو فيه.
Okay.
And then he got money. Allah knows how they're getting it from Dubai, from company known for money laundering. Anyhow.